Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Paper Rose Studio's Little Bakers collection. This is a super sweet collection. I love the colors and adorable designs. I'll be using the 6x6 paper pack, but it's also available in 12x12. So if you prefer the larger size, that is an option. Here's a look at the fun designs in the paper pack. There are 18 double-sided sheets. I really like the mix of busy and tone-on-tone patterns. There's a chevron, a pink plaid, purple polka dots, a couple different diagonal stripe papers. There's a really faint pink polka dot, another diagonal stripe, and I love the fun designs. There's the one sheet with the little bakers. There's cupcakes, baking equipment. The pink mixer is definitely one of my favorites. So there's a look at the 12 different designs that are included in the paper pack. I also have the coordinating embossed die cut pack, and I love Paper Rose's embossed die cuts. They're pre-cut, so no fussy cutting required. You simply pop them out and you can use a pair of scissors to trim off those small white tabs. There are 4 sheets with adorable images that perfectly match the pattern paper. And if you're not into baking, Paper Rose also has a little artist pack, which is just as adorable. And I will link it in the description box if you want to check it out. The other products I have that are part of the Little Bakers collection are the Quick Cards Collection Kit, and I also have the Quick Cards Collection Embossed Die Cut Pack. If you need some quick and beautiful cards, I highly recommend Paper Rose's Quick Cards Collection. I've used them several times in videos. They make it super easy to assemble a bunch of cards from the one collection pack. There's an inspiration sheet included that has 6 different card ideas, and other than the card bases, everything for those cards is included in the Quick Cards collection. There are also 4 embossed die cut sheets, and it includes not just images but also lots of sentiments. And that'll save you tons of time. You don't have to do a bunch of die cutting or stamping. You can simply use the images and sentiment embossed die cut pieces. There's a ton of paper in the Quick Cards collection, so it doesn't hurt to pick up the Quick Cards die cut pack. And these are the exact same images and sentiments that are already included in the Quick Cards collection. Here's a look at the pattern paper, and this is 6 by 8 inches in size. There are 18 double-sided sheets. So on one side, it looks very similar to the 6 by 6 paper. We have some tone-on-tones, lots of stripes. And on the opposite side, it's more of the busier patterns, but it also includes a strip of a coordinating pattern, and it has the look of a cardstock layer, but this is all one sheet. And if you're making A2 size cards, you can easily get 2 backgrounds from one sheet. Many of the designs are similar to the 6 by 6 paper, but they did include some different designs in the Quick Cards collection, including the fun chocolate chip cookie design. So there's a look at the 4 products I'll be using from Paper Rose Studio's Little Bakers collection. And if you are interested, I do have links in the description box below. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I will be using card sketches for inspiration. The first sketch is from Cards TV. This is sketch number 42. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, including measurements, I share all that information on my coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For my first card, I selected the pattern paper for the background that has a spatula, a whisk, there's a rolling pin, and some measuring spoons. And this piece is 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. For the 1 inch strip that goes across the middle, I'm using the light teal polka dot paper. To add a little bit of separation and shine, I'm putting a Love from Lizzie peel off along the edge of the polka dot paper. This is the silver holographic color in pinstripe style. I'm using the widest width. I'll wrap the ends around the back, and I did leave a little gap area on the left side, but I'll be covering that up with the image and the sentiment. I'll put ATG tape on the back, add this piece on some purple cardstock, then I'll add more adhesive and put my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. Next, I'll add a stitched oval die cut, and I use a light bluish teal cardstock from my stash. The oval dies are from Paper Rose. I'll put barely art glue on the back, adhere the oval on the left side of the card. You can see where I did cover up those gap areas without the peel-offs. I selected one of the little girl bakers. She looks super happy in her pink apron and pink chef's hat. I did pop her up using some foam dimension. I'll remove the release paper and add the image inside the oval. And for a sentiment, I'm adding Baker at Work. The very left side of the sentiment will sit on the oval. So on the right side, I'm adding a scrap piece of cardstock. And I use fairly thick cardstock, so I did need to add a small scrap piece of pattern paper on the left side to keep it at the same level. I was getting ready to adhere it down and realized I put the pattern paper and cardstock pieces on the wrong side. I need the pattern paper piece just in the area where it sits on the oval, otherwise it won't be at the right level. Luckily, I was able to pull them up. Now I'll add more glue and adhere it in place. Before that glue dries completely, I'll make sure to get the sentiment on nice and straight. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the same silver holographic color, but this time I'm using the mini circle style. My one sheet is almost gone. All I have left are the smallest size circles. I'll add one of each size circle following the design of the card sketch, but I'm also adding 2 circles in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The first 2 have the same pattern paper for the background. I just use a different image. The other 2 cards, I use a different pattern paper for the background and added the sentiment, Freshly Baked Joy. For card design number 2, the card sketch is from Cards TV. This is sketch number 58. For the background of my card, I selected the pattern paper that has all the cute little kid bakers. For the strip on the left side, I'm using the tone-on-tone chevron pattern, and I'll layer that piece on some light teal cardstock, and the cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back, add the chevron piece on the left side of the card. Trying to make sure to get it on nice and straight. Then I'll put adhesive on the back of the background piece and layer it on some purple cardstock. And the purple cardstock layer is A2 size. When layering the pattern paper on solid cardstock, I like to line it up on the end where there are 3 sides. That helps me get it evenly placed. And after adhering it down, there was a little extra on the very bottom, so I did go and trim off the extra. That way the border is even. And of course, I ran out of ATG tape when I was putting adhesive on the back of this panel, so I did need to go and refill it. For the image box, I used some white shimmer cardstock, and I'll layer it on some purple cardstock. That purple cardstock piece is an additional 1/8 of an inch. Before adhering it down, I'll add a scrap cardstock piece just on the right side where it goes off of the chevron strip. Then I'll add more adhesive and adhere it to my card. For an image, I selected the little boy that's proudly holding out 2 pans of freshly baked bread. We'll put glue on the back, adhere it in the center of the white panel. And for a sentiment, I'm adding "so tasty." Now I know on the card sketch it has a circle indicated, but I'm adding the little sentiment strip instead. I'll put the sentiment in the lower right-hand corner of the image panel. And since the very right side goes off of that panel, I did put some foam dimension in that area. We'll remove the release paper and put glue on the left side of the sentiment, then adhere it down. For embellishments, I'm using the silver holographic mini circle peel-offs. I'll put 3 of the largest size circles in the upper right-hand corner and 2 in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The first 2 cards, I used the same pattern paper, sentiment, and just changed the images. And for the second 2 cards, I used the purple and pink plaid paper for the background. I added 2 of the little girl images and the sentiment, "Thank you." For card design number 3, the sketch is from Cards TV. This is number 57. For the background of my card, I selected the pink plaid pattern paper. And for the square, I'm using the cupcake on the little cupcake tray pattern paper. I'll layer the cupcake pattern paper on some light pink cardstock, and I added an additional 1/8 of an inch for that cardstock layer. For the narrow strip going across the card, I'm using the purple and white polka dot pattern paper, although you'll only see a tiny bit on the right and left side of the cupcake pattern paper. Now I'll layer the plaid paper on some pink cardstock, and that piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Then I'll layer it again on some light teal cardstock, and that piece is A2 size. I think the pink and the light teal cardstock colors work perfectly with the pretty pastel cupcakes. Now I'll put adhesive on the back of the cupcake panel and adhere it on the card. And since I am covering up most of the purple polka dot strip, you could add just some tiny pieces on the right and left side if you don't want to add a full strip across the card. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. For the image panel, the small rectangle, I use some white shimmer cardstock, and I'll layer it on some of the darker pink cardstock, the same color I used for that first background layer. For the pink cardstock piece, I added an additional 1/8 of an inch. So that piece is 1 7/8 of an inch by 2 3/8 of an inch. I'll put barely art glue on the back and adhere it in the lower left-hand corner of the cupcake panel. I'll be adding 1 of the image embossed die cuts and the sentiment, "Hey Cupcake." I'll glue the image down using barely art glue. And the sentiment will go in the lower right-hand corner, same place as the oval on the card sketch. I'm just putting it as this little sentiment strip instead. Before adhering it down, I'll add some foam dimension behind the center of the sentiment. And I'm using a 1mm foam strip from scrapbook.com. On the very right side, I'll add some slightly thicker foam dimension. I just grabbed some foam from my stash. I have these black foam squares, and they're about 2mm thick. I'll put 2 on the very right side, remove the release paper, then add glue on the left side of the sentiment and adhere it in place. After adhering the sentiment down, I realized I need to add a little more dimension behind the very left side to keep it at the same level. So I'm cutting just a small scrap piece of white cardstock. And the glue hasn't dried completely, so I was able to tuck it in underneath the sentiment. Adding these extra pieces of scrap cardstock or foam are optional, but it does give your card a nice clean look when you keep everything at the same level. For embellishments, I'm using more Love from Lizzie peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in silver. I'm using the medium-sized circles. I'll put 2 in the upper left-hand corner and 3 underneath the sentiment on the right side. And since the peel-offs are basically just stickers, if you don't get them lined up nice and straight, generally you're able to remove them and then realign them. It depends on what kind of paper or cardstock you're adding them on. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. The first 2 I used the same pattern paper and sentiments. For the other 2 cards, I used different pattern paper for the background and the feature, and then the image is the pink mixer. And for one of the cards, I did add the sentiment on the left side since the mixer was facing that direction. So for my first 3 card designs, I used the 6x6 paper. For the next 3 card designs, I'm using the Quick Cards collection. For the background, I selected the chocolate chip paper with the blue polka dot stripe going across the bottom. I cut this piece to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, layered it on some dark brown cardstock, and that cardstock layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. So 4 1/8 of an inch by 5 3/8 of an inch. I'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. I'll be adding one of the large image circle embossed die cuts. This sweet little boy holding a mixing bowl and spoon. For a sentiment, I'm adding "Oh So Yummy," and I did put foam dimension behind the image and sentiment. I'll remove the release paper, add the image down first, and then put the sentiment underneath. And I'm using the grid lines on my magnetic glass mat to get that sentiment evenly spaced on the center of the card. For a little extra detail, I have a small scrap piece of the dark brown cardstock, and I'll cut it into a banner. First cut a fishtail on the bottom, then cut the right side in slightly at an angle, flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in the upper left-hand corner. This is a super simple design. That's one of the great things about the Quick Cards collection. So there is my finished card, and I did make 4 using this design. For the other 2 cards, I used the pattern paper that has all the little kid bakers. This sweet little girl holding maybe a cupcake with cherries on top, and I added the sentiment, "Happy Birthday." For card design number 5, this is also a very quick and easy card. For the background, I have the pattern paper with the pink mixer and other baking tools, and it has the pink and white stripe down the middle with the look of a green cardstock layer. I'll layer this piece on some purple cardstock. The pattern paper piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and the purple cardstock layer is A2 size. We'll put adhesive on the back, add my card front onto a card base, and for an image, I had to use the cute pink mixer. I did pop it up with some foam dimension. I'll remove the release paper, and this is a 1mm foam. I made sure to get good coverage all around the outside edge and a few strips in the center. I'll add the image down first, and for a sentiment, I'm putting sugar and smiles. And I also popped that up using more foam dimension. I'll remove the release paper and add the sentiment underneath the image. For a final finishing touch, I'll add a small banner in the upper left-hand corner using more of the purple cardstock. And usually when I add a small banner, that cardstock piece is 7/8 of an inch by 5/8 of an inch. I think it makes the perfect size banner. So there is my finished card, and you could add embellishments. I decided to leave it as is. I did end up making 4 using this design. For the other 2 cards, I have the cupcakes for the background and added the large cupcake embossed image with the sentiment, "Stay Sweet." I love that you can get 2 backgrounds from 1 sheet of paper in the Quick Cards collection. Now moving on to my final card design, number 6. For the background of my card, using the pattern paper that has all the different baking tools, and the stripe going across this panel features several of the kid bakers. The background piece is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. I'm layering it on some dark purple cardstock, and that layer is an additional 1/8 of an inch. Now I'll put adhesive on the back and add this piece on the purple and white polka dot pattern paper, and that piece I cut down to A2 size. I'll put my card front onto a card base. And when I have some of the narrow scrap pieces of pattern paper left over, I like to add them on the inside of the card just for a little extra detail. Next, I'll add a light teal stitched oval die cut. I'll put glue on the back and adhere it toward the bottom of the card. And I know it does cover up some of those cute little bakers, but you can still see one on the right and left side of the oval. I'll be adding one of the little girl bakers inside the oval and the sentiment suite. I am popping up the image with foam dimension, but for the sentiment, I'll glue it down at the very bottom of the oval. And for a little extra detail, I'm adding one of the embossed die cut banners. It has a green chef's hat with the sentiment baked with love. Since part of the banner will sit on top of the oval, I did put a scrap piece of cardstock behind it and just cut out that area where it'll sit on the oval. And I'll put glue on the back and adhere it in place. So there is my finished card, and again, I did make 4 using this design. The other 2 cards have the chocolate chip pattern paper for the background, one of the little boy bakers, and the sentiment celebrate. Now here's another look at the 24 cards I made using Paper Rose Studios' Little Bakers collection. I think this collection is super sweet. For my cards, I used the 6x6 paper, coordinating embossed die cuts, plus the Quick Cards collection with the coordinating die cut pack. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Paper Rose is located in Australia, and they do ship their products internationally, but you can also purchase them here in the US, and I have links for both locations listed below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.